Welcome to the Honest Designers Show, your transparent look into life as a modern designer. My name's Tom Ross and I'm the founder at designcuts.com, and this week I'm joined by my fellow Brit and hand lettering expert Ian Barnard, American retro design expert Dustin Lee, and the incredibly talented South African illustrator Lisa Glanz. In this week's episode, we take another listener question, this time from Meg, who is asking whether she should follow her true passion or stick with what she knows. This is a great discussion that hopefully every designer at home can learn something from. So let's get into the show. So this week I'm really excited, not only because we have the lovely Lisa back.
Yay!
Yay!
Welcome back,
Hello.
Lisa. You've escaped the horrors of doing your house up
Yes.
and all of that.
You look refreshed, like you've been on a beach.
She
Really?
does, actually.
Oh,
well, it's
thank
that
you.
South African summer. We're all very
It
envious of.
sure is.
And you've got bright colours on, which is always
I might start perspiring given 40 degrees, but
Is
yeah,
it?
it's good.
You're just going to have a subtle glow. So for everyone listening to the podcast, we are trying something new. This is the first time we're actually recording the video. So if we sound a bit different, it's because we're all very video shy. And we're aware this is going out to the world. If all goes to plan, this is going out to the world. So we'll see how it goes. But look for it on YouTube and hopefully it's there. But yeah, the other reason why I'm excited this week, apart from having the lovely Lisa back, is because we're doing another listener question. And this one is kind of special to all of us, actually, because it comes from listener Meg, who has actually been somewhat inspired by the show and is now on her own journey. So we wanted to dedicate a whole episode to Meg. I think she's going through a lot of stuff that a lot of folk listening at home will be. So bit of a long question, so bear with us here. But I think all the details are really important, and then we'll start digging into it. So Meg dropped me an email saying, "Hi, Tom, Lisa, Dustin, and Ian. My name is Megan Sayers. I'm a freelance graphic designer and illustrator. I've been hugely inspired by your show, in particular Dustin's drawing challenge and what Lisa is doing with her career. I'm at the point with my career/business where I'm wondering what's next. My freelance business is going well, but I often feel like I'm facing the same stresses over and over again, and I don't like the idea of doing the same kind of work forever. When asking myself which aspects of my work I enjoy the most, it's always the illustration. However, not having studied illustration or had the opportunity to do it regularly, it sometimes feels a bit forced, and I'm not always as happy with what I produce. Also, I only ever did vector illustration, which I think could feel stiff and lacking the fluidity of hand-drawn illustration. So I thought I'd start a hand-drawing challenge, like Dustin, just to get better. I'm now on day 40. I originally planned 365, and my challenge seems to have taken on a life of its own, which I didn't expect, and I feel absolutely obsessed with it. I'm loving drawing every day, around 2 hours each evening, and I can definitely see an improvement. But there is a big part of me that can't shake the feeling that I should be spending this time every evening doing more paid work, because with a young family, money is important right now. I feel like I need a rough plan in my head that justifies what I'm doing with this drawing challenge. I want to keep it up because I've never felt so focused and dedicated to something, and I'm scared if I stop drawing every day that I'll stop altogether. Plus, I'm enjoying it so much, but I'm worried that without having a plan of how it could eventually make some money, that maybe it is a waste of my time. So I guess my question is, do you think I should keep going with daily drawings for 100 or even 365 days? And if yes, why? Or should I stop and focus this energy on work that I know pays? Many thanks, Megan." So that was a mouthful. But honestly, I'm so grateful that Megan emailed, and it's so humbling to hear her story. First of all, really appreciate it, Megan. So happy that we've inspired you in some way, and particularly Dustin with his drawing challenge.
Yeah.
And we, first of all, wanted to give a big plug to Megan because her Instagram handle is Meg_LA Doodle. So it's Meg_la_doodle. And seriously, if you're listening to this episode, go and pause it now and go to Instagram and search for Meg_la_doodle, because it will give so much context to what she's going through and what she's working on. And also, she's super talented. Like,
Totally.
I really want
She is.
all the listeners to go and check out her work and follow her, because it's amazing. And what's most amazing is the improvement that I've seen. I think
astounding.
as she said, she's been doing it like 40 days. And it's insane. It's like, she certainly wasn't bad to start with, but things were a lot more rough. And now it's like, I actually messaged her and said her last 3 illustrations are like some of my favorite illustration work I've ever seen. It's like exactly the kind of style I love. It's really polished, all like even the texture work and all the shadows and the detail. It's amazing. So
it's astounding work, and she's making multiple panels like a comic. So you got like sometimes you have a post that has like 3 panels in it for each one. And Meg, since I'm thinking of it, I really think you should call this adulting, like adulting 101 or something. Because as I'm reading this, I'm like, this is such things, having a 2 and a 4-year-old girl that I relate to.
Yeah, definitely. Although don't change your Instagram handle, because we're about to push all the listeners to go and check you out.
True.
So wait until you get all the fans, and then maybe change it.
Your first book, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I also want the listeners to check it out, because I think it's testament to the daily challenge thing we've been talking about a lot, working. Because I know, Dustin, you started doing it. We've seen a bunch of people do it on the back of the show, and it really does work. It's proof that consistency, practice makes perfect. Just the improvement is phenomenal. So first of all, props to Megan. Check her out, and well done, Megan, for making so much improvement. Shall we now spend this episode dissecting her question? Because as I said at the start, I think there's a lot of moving parts to this question, but I think it's so relevant for so many people listening at home, because basically I think the question is, should I settle for doing something I don't truly love for the money, or should I go after something I think is my true passion? And
I don't think that, I was just going to say, I don't think they have to be separate. Because looking at her work now, she is literally ready to be hired for editorial illustration, for example. I mean, that's just one avenue she could go down. She is, in my opinion, honestly at that level. So I don't think she needs to. I really don't think, Meg, you shouldn't separate them, because you can actually start making a living now already with your illustration. I just think you obviously might be needing that push in your mind that you're good enough, because the fact that you're questioning that, obviously right now your graphic design stuff is bringing in the money. I get that, and we all need to eat, but I don't think you should give this up for 2 reasons. One, you're clearly talented, and the other reason is this is what you love doing, and that's what's going to actually drive you for the rest of your life. You don't want to be in a position where you're doing something just for the money, because that eventually dries up. The feeling of getting up every day. You want to get up every day and be excited for what you do. And man, I just think you've got it already. I don't think you have to worry.
I don't know what it is, but you got it.
She does.
She's super talented at it, and it's made me think. Oftentimes, people think what they're getting paid to do is the only thing they can do, and what they don't get paid to do, they're no good at. But then lots of times this thing that they're so good at that they want to do and get paid for, they're just not trying to get paid for. So for instance, I don't cut grass for a living, but it doesn't make me say, well, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for that. I'm just not ready to try to monetize that. I need to practice cutting grass more. It's a weird analogy, because grass cutting is really easy. I think, but you know what I mean? Like, she just hasn't tried to do it. Just because you're not making money doesn't mean that the world's voted you can't do it. It just means you haven't offered it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to offend her with her other work, but she's told me she is making a decent living. And I think she mentioned graphic design work and branding work and that kind of thing. And I'm sure she's great at what she does, but I'm guessing if I went and saw her other work, I bet it wouldn't excite me as much as her illustration work does.
I mean, she's got such a good sense of humor.
Oh, yeah, she does. Like, the whole thing is just, it feels kind of perfect. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'd check out her branding work and it would like blow my mind. But I know quite often branding work can be a little bit by the numbers and maybe not as quirky as illustration work. Yeah. And I just think the potential there, like if you want to talk about money, like from the passion side, do it because you love it. I think it's as simple as that. But from a business perspective, it's not like you're throwing in making pancakes and trying to add that to your design business where it's completely incongruous. Like this perfectly should fit into what you're already offering.
Completely.
So if you already have a client base, I would actually contact them and say, oh, by the way, I'm now doing this. Like, I think it could help your business in these ways. Or if you're doing a new project or you're midway through a project, say you're doing, I don't know, menu design or something like that. It's like, oh, by the way, I think it could be cool to add some illustration to this menu. That's a new service I'm offering. Like it perfectly ties into what she's doing.
Absolutely.
And I think the thing is, that's what happened with me. I started offering hand lettering as part of my graphic design service. As like, I suppose part of the logo design, I was offering stuff like that. And then it just built upon that. So I then ended up doing more and more of that. I did wine labels, and then I did posters, and then social media posts. And it was just the thing that was just the add-on at the beginning then started to become the main thing. And then you can separate it out as in, actually, I just want to do that solely. But at the beginning, it's more of an add-on until it can, I suppose, like a support. It's like a bike when you have the training wheels. It's sort of, it's like you have the support of your regular, especially with design. If you're doing, it's all part of design rather than having a separate job like, waitressing or something. It's part of, and it can be intertwined with the work you're doing already. And what you can do is just keep focusing, keep promoting the bit you want to do. And that hopefully will then be the work that you get.
It's kind of a toe in the water, right? Because I can understand it would be very scary if it was like throw out your current business and go be an illustrator. But just by starting to layer it on top and then slowly build that up over time, as Ian says, like the scales could kind of tip, right? So it could be a side thing, but it could become your main thing. You never know. And I think that could maybe be the key to giving you the confidence and the motivation. Because she's clearly loving this thing already, but as soon as she starts getting additional monies in the door on the back of it, and she's like, hold on, I love this thing and it's making me more money, that's going to be like the biggest motivator of all.
Yeah. I was discussing this with my wife yesterday about the drawing challenge I'm doing, and I was saying, gosh, I really don't want to do this drawing tonight. I was like, I don't know if I can keep this up. And I said, but I'm afraid if I stop doing it, because I can see improvement. I can see that I can draw quicker. I can see that I can anticipate how things will work quicker. I could just see, I can feel the improvement. And I think people can see it to a degree.
Definitely.
But I don't want to stop, I told her, because I'm afraid that like in 365 days, I'm going to be pretty great at this. And if I stop at 50 days, I'm going to be so bummed out. And so I keep doing it. Because I'm this far, right? 1/6 of the way or 1/7 of the way. And
which is amazing, by the way.
Oh, I can't. Well, and that's the other thing is it's almost a miracle to get that far in something. You kind of feel like, well,
it is.
It's so rare that you get onto that ride and do it.
Seriously.
And celebrate it as well, because if you stopped doing it, you'd beat yourself up. But if you kept doing it, you probably wouldn't think of that as a win. You know what I mean? Like if you celebrate 50 days, celebrate 100 days.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Unreal. And I kind of feel like I don't know how this would make me money or how that would work. But I feel like if I keep doing it, something will come. Like right now, some people are like, oh, well, I like your comments a lot. Like I would love to see you write more. Maybe it would be that. Or maybe I'd become really good at a certain type of illustration and do courses. I don't know what it would be. But the longer I do it, the more I feel like eventually it slowly shows you where the path is to make some money doing it.
Why don't you vectorize some and put them as part of a digital product?
Yeah, they're all vectorized, and I've thought that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have them as like a bonus or something to start with. So again, it's toe in the water.
Yeah, I've totally thought that. I still feel like not quite good enough, but I've also thought it'll feel so good in like a year to be able to put them all on a page together and be like, look, my wife was like, how amazing would it be to have 365 drawings? So for Meg, I'm like, how amazing would it be to have 365 comics? That's insane.
That is insane.
You could make a copy book with all the little bits of copy that you had it. So you have a page of the drawing and a page of the copy of you wrote with it, which was it's really good. And so that would have made a really amazing book that someone could buy and just read through and take inspiration from your sort of journey and from your little stories.
Mm. But I have to, sorry to interrupt you. I just have to comment. I've got to tell Meg this because I think she'd appreciate this. I was exactly in the same position. I've started doing, I was never trained in illustration. So everything was kind of self-taught. I did art at school, but, kind of left it there. And basically loved the illustration more and more and really wanted to do that full time, but still had my, graphic design business. And I started sneaking it into projects without even kind of telling the client, instead of like buying the illustrations that I would before, I would actually do them. And that way there's like no pressure on yourself because then the client doesn't really know that you're the one who did the illustration. So it also starts validating to you, hey, I'm just as good as the stuff that I can buy. And before you know it, you start realizing, this is the kind of path I want to go, and this is a place I want to go, and you build this confidence slowly each project, and you fight yourself less, and before you know it, you actually you're full on in it, and you quit your graphic design business.
Which is so cool. Yeah, it is possible, and it's not just you. I think it's super inspiring that you've done it, but this is a familiar tale.
Absolutely.
I think it's
doable.
Really doable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what the 365 days does for you is one, it develops a style that can be evident over that period of time. And so then you're known for a certain style and your feed is full of a certain style. It also then brings awareness to others around you to your feed, because Instagram algorithm likes things being posted daily, and so that helps as well. And I think it also just gives you because from my experience, it's just things pop up through your commitment to that thing, because you build an audience as well. People gather round because people love consistency, and they love consistency and similar content. So you have to have that weave of similarity of your stuff, but similar but different, because they're looking forward to it. Like because I'm sort of doing it again with my my bad latte art on my Instagram stories. I've got people messaging me like day after day, just saying, I really look forward to it. Like with Dustin, I really look forward to this at the beginning of my day. And the problem is, if I get good, then it'd just be boring, because it'd just be good, like all the other fancy latte art.
Totally.
And so, and I think it's something that people appreciate. One, the sort of creativity of coming up with something new every day, and they enjoy that. And the process, because at the beginning, people resonate with the process and the ugliness maybe of some of the stuff that we're doing, even though this is really, Meg's stuff is really good. It's the process. They like seeing people grow and like going on that journey with them. And we see that time and time again over Instagram, over Facebook, over YouTube, as people, I love going on YouTube and looking at the first videos that, like, a tech reviewer might have done, or a vlogger, and you look and you see how bad it was and how much they've grown, and it gives you hope. And I think that's what the thing is. That's why I leave my original stuff on my feed, because it gives people hope that that you didn't start from anywhere, or you have like humble beginnings, and that they too can follow that consistent pattern of creating and posting and creating and posting and develop their skills.
Well, Megs has been really solid the entire time, but she does talk about it. And I remember her talking about, I want to spend this time with my family. I don't know if I want to be drawing this right now. Or this didn't turn out very good. And so even if the drawing is good, you're saying, and you still hear that struggle of trying to do it. So right now it's taking her 2 hours. Maybe in a year it'll take her, 45 minutes to do the same thing. But there's still all sorts of internal struggles that happen. And I agree. I enjoy seeing those so much. It's kind of anxiety inducing when someone's like, this was easy. And it's like
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
amazing, you
it's
know?
scary. It's like, oh my word, I must really suck then. You know?
Yeah.
My other hand lettering friend, Stefan on Instagram, is really promoting in the new year for people to create stuff, even if it sucks, because it's through that method of creating with whatever you've got around you that helps develop that creative muscle that I think we all have. It just needs
Definitely.
exercising, and I think
Yep.
trying to do something that's like why I post every day, because I find that if I don't, I find my creativity dips. I don't think we're like we're injected with this creative hormone or part of the DNA. Some people are exercise it much better than others, and that's just like what our bodies are. But I think we need to get into that creative rhythm. I've seen people like who were doing like office jobs and they didn't think they had a creative brain in the body, but they tried something and just kept at it, and they got into that process and got in that creative frame of mind, I think is what I'm talking about.
Definitely. So shall we touch for a second on the passion element and the loving what you're doing? Because I know it's easy to gloss over that and go, well, you love it, and so it's pretty obvious you should keep doing it. But clearly it's not that obvious for a lot of people, because we hear this all the time where someone's like, I love it, but I don't know if I should keep it up. And I'm just going to reread a couple of sound bites from Meg's question here. So she says, when asking myself which aspects of my work I enjoy most, it's always the illustration. And then she says later on, and I feel absolutely obsessed with it. And then she also says, I'm loving drawing every day. So it's pretty obvious to me here
It's pretty obvious
that she should be doing it. And I would actually say irrespective of money, even if I think she definitely can make money from this, but even if she couldn't, it's like, well, it beats watching TV, surely, right?
Yeah.
It's like, if you love it that much, which I think she does, then what a great thing to be able to spend your evenings doing something you're that passionate about and sharing it with the world. And even if she doesn't make money, she is going to build up a following, and it will open doors that she could never expect.
Well, and let's say it didn't even open any, it would still, you would end up in a year with this amazing collection that looks like it's a little look into her life. Her kids will look at it, they'll cherish it. I mean, things of my father's that he wrote, he's passed away. I mean, those are the first things that would come out in a fire,
Yeah.
So for her, that will be something that will last a lifetime in many ways.
Yeah. So even if she lived in a bubble and she was a hermit, she should do it anyway, right? Just for her.
Real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was just thinking as well, like we often need to refuel. So whatever gets us going or relaxes us or helps us with our creativity, and if that's all this is for her, then she's already won, because it is important. So
yeah, people can spend 20, 30 years trying to figure out what they care about this much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like a lot of you guys had that, right? I've certainly had it to some extent, where you all did work which wasn't truly your calling. And then you ended up pivoting and trying something new and going, oh yeah, that's it. That's what I've been missing. And you've all said to me, you wish you started earlier.
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
I remember thinking what I liked was so dumb. And then when I just finally just let myself do it, everything became easier.
Yep.
Yeah. And I actually think even on the money front, it's easier than you think to earn money. I think the money comes more naturally when you love it that much. Often people seem to have this concept in their head where they can't marry the two. It's like, well, if I love it, then I guess I probably can't earn money from it. It's just going to be a passion project. But really, you're going to throw yourself into it so much more, and it will come more naturally. I truly believe that. Yeah,
definitely. And the thing, what I've seen is because I've been on Facebook for must be like a decade or so now, that when I was posting about my just general graphic design, there was just not any interest. But now I post about something I'm really, really passionate about. I was passionate about the graphic design, but I'm more passionate about like lettering and the calligraphy. And like whenever I meet someone I haven't seen for a while, but she might chat on Facebook, but meet them out physically, they go, the first thing they talk about, oh, I love watching your videos. That's literally the first thing out their mouths. I can't get saying. And it's great that I'm in that place. They know what my passion is and they're passionate about it as well. And I think it's that way of just being able to, if people can see your passion, you display it, then I think it helps you to be known for that, and it helps to grow you as a person, and also, your, I suppose, audience, your presence online.
When you did your Christmas video or your winter videos when it first got frosty enough to draw and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like you're watching your buddy who's just a lettering geek, and he's so excited because it's gotten cold enough to draw with it that you like. I feel like I'm with you, and like you're walking down the road, and then it's like frozen. You're like, oh, he's gonna draw on this, like it's just like it's endearing. It feels like it's a friend because I'm like, I remember him doing that this last year. Of course, he'll do this. It's irresistible.
It's not that much better.
It's fantastic. That there's a charm to it, like that doesn't come from being like, here's this thing I kind of maybe care about a little.
What's quite nice is it's quite temporary, and it's seasonal as well, so it's like a limited lifespan. So and maybe it goes back to that familiar thing. It's that content that you saw last year, and it's popped up again, and you're like, yeah, I like this last year, and I want to watch it this year as well. So yeah. I think people like that.
Part of your holidays.
And it's why if you look at stuff like like The Big Bang Theory, me and my wife watching at the moment, they wear all the same sort of clothes every time because you get familiar with that. And it's the same with other shows that they, someone's always wearing a certain type of jacket or a certain type of shoes or stuff like that, because it helps us to know that that's what they're going to wear. If they start wearing other things different, it makes us stop and like focus on that rather than what we should be focusing on, which is like the comedy and the jokes and the relationships and stuff like that. And it's why you see a lot of YouTubers having a certain, wearing a certain type of hat, wearing a certain type of t-shirt, certain style of clothing they wear, because that familiarity, we get so used to that routine that it makes us comfortable. And so, yeah, I think it all comes back to this sort of certain formula. Not that the formula is always going to work. It's a good formula to stick to because it works so many times.
Something I'm picking out of Meg's question here as well is she's saying she's facing the same stresses over and over again with her current type of work, and she doesn't like the idea of doing that type of work forever. So I think that's another bit to really pick out and dissect, because that for me is a red flag. It's like, regardless of what she's doing with illustration, it sounds like her main design work has an expiration date. She's already hit the point where she doesn't want to do it forever.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can con your brain into thinking that you'll feel better about it, like, or you'll, next year I'll have more energy to do this, but it actually just gets worse. So if she's already feeling that, it's like that whole thing, your suitcase is kind of already half packed and you can't unpack it. So if she's already feeling that, to me, that's a sign that it gets heavier and heavier rather than lighter and lighter, I think.
So what would you do about it in a nutshell?
Well, I know what I did.
Yeah, well, she did say she's specifically inspired by your career as well. Probably because it sounds like you've gone on the exact journey which she is.
It sounds identical
exploring.
Because I had the same thing. I mean, I remember sitting down with my mom and saying, I can't see myself doing this forever. And she would be frowning and saying, but you're doing so well and it's so successful. And I'd say, yeah, I know, but it's killing me. It's like, this is not what I want to do forever. And so there was this guilt. There was this total guilt because I was doing well, but I wasn't fully enjoying it. And on the other hand, all I wanted to do was draw and make a living doing that. And I just didn't know how to get there, So it was really scary. But I literally just chipped away at my mind every day, because that's what it takes, because you got to convince yourself. Because I can tell you now, the world is ready for you, Meg. That's not even a question. It's a given. So that's not the issue here at all. The issue is actually yourself, and you need to start believing that you can do it, and you can have a career illustrating, and you can make a living, an even better living, in my opinion, illustrating. yeah, it's a mental game, I think, at this stage, in my opinion, because I think once she gets to that point of believing in herself, doors open miraculously. It's the weirdest thing, and because I mean, I know this sounds like in the air, but what I believe is that the universe then steps in and goes, okay, she's ready, let's start sending her the stuff, you know. But until she gets there, yeah, she's going to be stuck, I
So
think.
in terms of that mindset, what did you go through? When did you actually go, okay, I'm an illustrator? Because it sounds like that's the bit that's lacking. I mean, even her handle, I hope Meg doesn't mind us sharing this, but previously it was Crappy Illustrations was her Instagram handle. And she asked Dustin and I, should I maybe change this?
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, because you're definitely not crappy. And
Yeah.
before I found it, at first I was like, oh, it's kind of meant to be ironic. Ha ha ha.
Yeah,
but
because she was that good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I remember when she did it and she named it that, and it was a great way to start, I think, in the sense that I think she named it that to give herself permission to do whatever. And Meg, correct me if I'm wrong, but the feeling I got from that was, if I name it this, I can do whatever and fail and it's okay.
And I don't have to be good.
Which is such a great way to handle that.
Yeah, it is.
But then you're awesome and you need to change it.
That's so true.
So yeah, Lisa, how do you think to get inside that mindset where it's not a side gig that you think you suck at, but you actually take ownership? You're like, I am an illustrator now.
Yeah, to be honest, it was a hell of a journey for me mentally, because I really, really struggled to get there, because I didn't think it was good enough. Because, I mean, same with Meg, I never had any training, so everything was self-taught, and I just really thought I was a fake. I mean, it was, it took a lot of, and because I was so determined, every day I'd kind of tell myself, look, yes, you're scared, yes, you think you're shite, yes, you think it's never going to work out, you know, but you got to try, because you'll never know if you don't try. And I was petrified to wake up at I don't know, 45 or 50 and go, oh my word, I'm still designing, I'm still hating it, and I haven't done anything. So that drove me even more, that pressure that I wanted to kind of not be in the same place. So it's overcoming that fear and just like even do baby steps. Say you want to try your hand at doing editorial. For some reason, I think your style really lends it to that. I could be wrong. I don't know. But, you know, maybe approach a magazine that you'd be keen on illustrating for and see what happens. You got nothing to lose, you know. Just give it a go.
I could totally see it in a magazine, actually, now you mention it.
Yeah.
What I did notice is that she's based in Brighton, which is is like the creative hub of the UK. Creative city of the UK, and I think there's a lot of design agencies in there, or a lot of magazines, a lot of creative magazines and stuff like that. And so it'd be a good place to to explore, even if it is offering some stuff for free. You want to sort of push your name out there as much as you can, and also just sort of like when I was looking at her website, is that you have to sort of nail your colours to the mast and just write that you're an illustrator and not a graphic designer or anything like that.
Has she got a portfolio? I haven't actually seen this.
Well, on the website, you sort of show some of her recent work.
Okay, and has it got any illustration on there?
Yeah, but it's also like you've got looking for a freelance graphic designer or illustrator in Brighton. I reckon just go for illustrator and just hammer illustration all the way through it, and just keep that as your forefront, because like we mentioned quite a few times before in this podcast, is that the work you put out there and the work you advertise is the work you want to get in. So if the graphic design part is the stuff that's not really, it's the stuff bringing money in, but it's not the thing you're enjoyable, then to get more illustration, you just have to be really clear that this is your, this is it,
By the way, I actually take back what I said before. Her branding work's really nice as well. So she's got a good eye. This is really cool. So what I would probably do as well, I don't think she's showing off that much work currently. I would really try and show it off as well as possible. So I think we've got a previous episode on how to best show your work off, how to have a compelling portfolio. And I would start thinking about things like Lisa mentioned. Could it be good for editorial? What other areas could it be good for? And then take some of your best illustrations from your feed and put them into mock-ups, stuff like that, mock-up templates, where you get a realistic looking photo of, say, an open magazine and drop in your work and how it might look there. And all things like that will be more appealing to potential clients. It will help you feel probably a bit more confident and professional in how you're presenting it and more like an authentic illustrator. It will get you thinking about applications for how you could fit this in commercially within your overall business.
Definitely.
I'm looking at her website, at Meg's website right now, and I mean, I personally think the illustration part is the best part anyways. I mean, it's all good, no question. But the illustrations are amazing. Like that's the most delicious part of it. And I'm not trying to downgrade any of the other parts, but it's just amazing. I think that Lisa's right. This is really a mental game.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Meg is actually trying to game the four of us, and she just wanted exposure on the show?
Yes.
So she's trying to.
Well
she's very self-assured illustrator in Brighton, and she's trying to downplay that and seem a little insecure about her work. So she gets a big shout out on the Honest Designer show.
But you know what? She earned it. If she figured that out, that's so brilliant that she totally earned it.
Yeah, she did. Props to you, Megan.
Like on about page, it says about her skill levels for things, and brand design is at the top.
Sorry. So it says great at getting on podcasts without anyone knowing.
Yeah. She's been illustrating for 18 years now. Got a lot of established clients.
I don't know. It looks like she's got a Dribble account, which is really good because that's really good for like magazines and stuff for getting on board. And her illustration style really suits the sort of Dribble.
It does.
Dribble stuff.
Audience.
If she needs an invite, then Megan could let me know because I've got a ton of them for some reason to get onto that. You know, she's got an account, but you can get you can cite.
And you know what? Too, she's got a ton of I mean, none of us are anywhere near Ian, but she's got a good amount of followers that are, I think, also designers of some sort. And plus, we're mentioned on the show, and I'm sure she's mentioned other places. All the illustrators that I know that get work, or they tend to get a lot of it from word of mouth or referrals from people they know. So maybe like a really easy first step is just to reach out to illustrators or designers that she already knows and just be like, hey, if you know anyone that needs this, I'm offering this. I've seen so many people get a lot of work that way.
Or, I think we talked about this before. So it's complementary skills. So she might have someone who does a type of work that she doesn't, say font design. And she could reach out and say, hey, whenever a client needs font design, I'll point them to you. Whenever they need illustration work, which you don't do, point them back to me. And beyond that, I would say actually start hitting up illustrators just for the mental side of it. So if you start building up a network of friends who are also illustrators, you will naturally start to feel like part of that community and part of that clique.
Definitely.
And suddenly you won't feel like an imposter because you'll be hanging out with people doing the same thing as you, validating you every single day and recognizing you as an illustrator.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I remember the day that one of the illustrators I still look up to followed me on Instagram. I mean, I remember running down to Cliff and saying, "Oh my word, you won't believe what just happened." Just, so it like changes your whole. You think, okay, so I'm like, I'm in.
I'm in the club. The red rope got pulled back.
I made it. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I like that.
Thank you.
I remember getting a Dribble invite and calling my wife at work and telling her. I was like, our worries are over.
That is such like I love it because I do the same thing, but that's such like a lame designer thing. Like we have so many little idiosyncrasies as designers when no one else would care, and we're like, yes,
of course,
my year's been made.
Oh my goodness! I bet your wife didn't know what on earth you were talking about.
She was like, "What?
Just
You're
Cliff-
dribbling? Like, do you want a napkin or something?"
I was like, it's really important, and you have to get invited by somebody. And everyone knows that they invited you, so they best think you're pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I just seriously, I thought that our problems were solved. It turns out they weren't. But it was an honor. It was exciting.
Little geeky aside here, but I remember I got a Gmail account when I think it was in like beta mode or something. And so it was so new and sought after. I think it was invite only, and people were selling Gmail accounts for $10.
Wow.
And I thought I was like really cool having this early adopter email account. I'm like, it's so slick. It's so much better than Hotmail. And it's like, what a lame thing to be proud of.
No, it just shows that you're a true
nerd.
Yeah,
a true nerd. Okay, so any final thoughts on Meg's situation? Hopefully by this point her head is now the size of a beach ball because we've been inflating her ego.
Well, she deserves it.
She does.
Can I share something real quick? This will be the last thing I'll say, but it's kept popping up in my head throughout the episode. I think Tim Ferriss originally said, or he heard someone say it and he started repeating it all the time, but with your illustration work, instead of thinking of it like a big mountain, he says, whenever something overwhelms me, I just change the question and say, what if this was easy?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if it was easy to get jobs as an illustrator? It doesn't magically fix the problem, but it kind of reframes it for you. Maybe it's not as hard as you think. What if it was easy? What if it was as easy as writing to your friends and telling them? What if it was as easy as, sending a link of your Instagram to a couple magazines?
Yeah.
I just think that's an empowering way to think about it, and it makes it less intimidating.
Yeah,
I like that.
For sure. Yeah, it can be so daunting. It feels like this unscalable mountain of everything could go wrong.
Can I just say that I'm a little confused? Because, like, it's good to have that frame of mind, but then you go and do something and, send it off to a magazine, nothing happens. What happens then?
I think it's not that that the world is going to affirm that everything is easy. I think that the problem is that we, like Lisa said, play mind games with ourselves, and so we never do anything because we're paralyzed. So when we say, what if this was easy, it helps us think of small, little, easy things we can do that might make a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean?
You cynic.
For sure, like you could send it out and it doesn't work, but it gets you started. Breaks that wall.
Yeah, okay. I was just thinking about what would, you got yourself into this frame of mind, you do something and nothing happens.
Just keep kidding yourself. Be like, what if they did get back to me and I just didn't see the email? What if I'm a success? It reminds me a little bit of the Steve Jobs thing where he's talking about basically shaping the universe around you instead of you just fitting into it. And he's like, what if you can mold it and shape it and make it your own thing? And obviously you can do that only within the bounds of reality. You can't literally do anything. But I do think when it's not so much I'm going to be reactive to everything happening around me, I'm going to define my own reality.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit like hippie and airy-fairy, but...
No, but it's exactly right.
Yeah, it's genuinely quite powerful, but it's like, you know what? I'm not just going to fit into this little mold that was created for me. Yeah. I'm going to choose how I want the world around me to be.
And I think this is a good example, especially when you like keep going, even if it's like your own company sacks you. You're like,
exactly.
I'm still going to win. It's like, what if this was easy?
Positive affirmations. I mean, don't take it to a ridiculous lens. Don't start attending dinner parties naked or something and you're like, I think this is how the world should be. But yeah, within reason, I think it can work. So shall we do our usual quick fire kind of sum up?
Yeah.
Like what stood out to each of us in terms of what's applicable to Megan, but also anyone listening. I would say for me, do what you love. Very generic advice, but so true and so powerful. Like go after what you're passionate about. And I think often the money can and does follow a lot easier than you anticipate.
Yeah, I agree. I would say think the only thing that's stopping you is yourself. I know that's a cliche, but it's true. The barrier between you having an illustration career or not is literally you. So if you can get through it yourself, because you're the only one stopping you, then you made it. It sounds easy, but that's ultimately what's going on. So think about that.
I would say think about what yourself in 10 years would say back to yourself.
Yeah.
What advice would you in 10 years give yourself? Would you say, good job, it's a good thing you kept doing that graphic design stuff that you really weren't super happy with. Smart move. Think about what you would say to yourself when you're older.
Yeah.
Ian?
I want to answer the question, should I go 365 days? Yes. And I once, this is like quite random LinkedIn, but I gave up chocolate for a whole year. Which
why did you do that?
I would have died.
I wanted to see if I had the willpower to give. I really like chocolate, to give it up for a year. And after 3 months, if
I was your wife, I'd always be trying to sneak chocolate into your.
Yeah, torturing you. Definitely.
The thing is, my wife loves chocolate. My wife loves chocolate as well, so she wouldn't try and sneak it in unless it was like white chocolate. She's more of a dark chocolate person. But what happened at the end? Like after 3 months, I forgot what chocolate tasted like, and it became much easier. And then after a year, I got my first clean bit of health from the dentist. I've got nearly a filling in every single tooth, and it was the first time.
Must be a nightmare at airports.
Yes, ding. Or magnets, big magnets.
Saw you in James Bond, I think. Yeah.
It was the first time that I've had a clean bill of health from the dentist, and I've had a clean bill of health like every time I've been, unless there's like an old filling has started to fall out because it's old. But I think just, like I wasn't expecting that to happen. I was just like, oh, I'll see if my willpower can do it. But I now know that if I put my mind to other things, I can then do it. And I think it's not just, doing the 365 days of the illustration. I think it will bring up other things will happen as well in your commitment to your craft. I think it just, it gives you a new perspective, and it gives you it gives you some good training as well to commit the willpower to keep going. Because there'll be this point, this like hump, like Wednesday's called hump day. You'll get to a point where you're like, oh, this, Dustin was saying, he was struggling the other night to do one. You have to push on through. There's going to be highs and lows. And some days you're like, I just don't want to see another illustration, but you have to push on through, because the next day sometimes it goes back to normal and you love it. And I think, that happens through that process of a year is a good point to do it, because so much can happen in a year.
Yeah. And I reckon it'll help you break through that sort of your own barrier that you got to still work through. So yeah,
comes easier after that long in some ways.
Nice. Well, to everyone listening at home, we do encourage all of you to try a daily challenge, whether it's design or drawing or lettering or whatever pursuit you're interested in. I think it can be really powerful. And again, do go and check out Meg_LA Doodle on Instagram, and hopefully her story will inspire you, and go and give her some encouragement as well. Not that she needs it. She's going to be gloating pretty soon, but go check out her work, because it's really, really impressive. So thanks again, Meg, for the question. I hope that helped. I hope that helped everyone at home as well, who might be toying with some similar concepts at the minute, exploring their passion, making money from it, etc., etc. And that's bye from all of us.
See ya.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. We hope that it helped you to reframe how you think about competition in your creative industry. As always, you can find full show notes over at honestdesigners.com, or find us over on iTunes by searching for The Honest Designers Show. If today's episode helped you, then it would mean the world to us if you took just a moment to leave us a quick review over on iTunes, as this is one of the best ways for other designers to discover the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next week right here on The Honest Designers Show.